Just explain that to us.
At this time, the hiring freeze that went on was in tandem with the town to save money, with the state put us in quite a position. So right now, I'm not saying that we don't need the technical services librarian, but what happened is that so many positions were unfilled. At one point, I was the only full-time employee in the children's main department, that a lot of things came up ahead of it that are more needed when we had to prioritize. So I'm going to say the need did not go away, but right now we're dealing with some other personnel issues, filling spots, so we're trying to figure out. That's not the only spot open, let me put it that way. There are 4 positions that remain open. So you just
don't feel comfortable, given what's going on with the state this year, in terms of asking for that money this year?
Because truly, that we're trying to, yes.
Can we go back to your personnel page for a second? I see, oh, Mrs. Leclerc, you had a question. My apologies. Go right ahead.
Well, it was actually on that topic. So
Okay, go right ahead.
You can continue if you wanted to.
Well, the question I had was, if we look at we have total full-time staff of 22, is that correct?
21 once unfilled.
Well, I think there's more than one unfilled.
There's more than one unfilled, if you want to go through. I mean, and we truly do need that technical spot. I want to be clear on that. I'm not saying that we do not need it. I'm just saying that we're trying to figure out what's going. So if you go through,
Oh, we have 21 then that are in this budget, because the one is
That's right.
added in,
right,
but it's not included, so it's 21 full-time, correct?
yes.
What are our part-time? How many part-time are there?
What would you think? 80, I would say.
80 part-time. And what's their average number of hours?
It could be anywhere from 10 to 19 and a half. They can't go over 19 and a half.
They can't go over 19 and a half.
No,
And that's per week?
per week, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Hours per week.
That's not both branches, right? Is it? Or is that just the main branch?
This is both branches, isn't it?
This is the main
Well, no,
branch.
it's both because they work in both places. We use
Got
them
it.
in both places.
So what are they doing? Are those the people at the checkout? What are they helping with?
They're helping with everything. Some of them are part-time professional librarians. We're using part-time technical service people to help do our cataloging downstairs. We're using them at the checkout desk. We're using them for programs. We're using them everywhere.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Kiley?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the personnel page, if I may, I know, there's people coming and going, and there's a lot of, back and forth on the budget, which gets us down to, $6,000 more than last year, just on the full-time side. But a couple lines caught my eye. The 2 library aides, the 4 reference librarians, and the 1 secretary, those 7 people, if I'm reading it correctly, they're all recently settled contracts, 2017, so they should be current salary-wise. But if you add up those 4 lines, or those 3 lines, there's actually a reduction in salary of like $32,000 before you count any benefits or things like that. So it's kind of going the other way. So I just wanted to know, is that a function of, are they being hired partially during the year? Is there turnover? Or is there something that I'm just not understanding by looking at at those 3 lines?
I believe it would be because of the turnover. The people who have been hired to fill the vacancies are hired at step 1, the lowest rate, whereas the people who moved on were higher
on the pay
earners.
scale.
But, yeah, which makes sense, but I just wanted to go back to your previous comment about there being open positions. So is there a correlation between open positions in these particular line items, or is it coincidence, or is there a turnover issue in the library?
I think the
Might be the bigger
assumption-
question.
The assumption would be that all of these positions would be filled
Okay.
when the new budget year begins.
Right.
So that doesn't help.
Well, so are they being filled with replacements at lesser salaries? Is that the answer? It could very well be. I just don't know.
In most cases, just because they're coming in at a lower step, that will happen.
Right. So if that is the case for, some number of those 7 people, is it just coincidence? Was it just a tough year? Or is there a turnover, issue that, is bubbling up in the library?
No, what happened was, with the turnover, is that this year, we were very volatile with movement, but it was really not people leaving. We had people retire, we had people move, and we took advantage of that point when the state came through, and I think the town, I think they were being cautious before they brought more full-time people in, and that's actually what happened. But people leaving were largely, it was retirements and going for a promotion in another library. It wasn't really, no internal problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Makes perfect sense.
Mrs. Leclerc, I wanted to go back and make sure you had an opportunity. Has your question been asked or answered?
It has on the personnel end of it. I did have one more question on materials, but
Go for it.
someone's
Go
still
ahead.
on personnel. Or-
Is anybody?
I-
Go for it. Are you on personnel, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead then.
I just want, I'm sorry, and I don't know your name on the right.
Jan Fisher.
Thank you. You have 4 vacancies right now. And your comment was just that hopefully in the FY19, those will all be filled, with the one exception because there's 1 0. Is that correct?
Yes.
So where are your 4 vacancies today, other than this technician
Okay,
service?
if you look
librarian?
on Main, the account clerk is empty.
Okay,
The reference librarian, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up from the bottom.
yep, got it.
The technical services, as you know.
Yep.
And then the other position, is at Woods, if you go to page 245.
Okay,
And that's the branch manager. It says deputy town librarian here.
deputy town, got it, okay. So, those are the 4. So, those positions were filled in FY18. You had
For a
someone in
portion
there.
of the, for a portion of the year.
Got it. So that's why we're seeing a lower number in FY18 salary line as well, because
Right.
you've got budget for a full staff of 21, but you're not
Right.
at the right burn rate. Got it. Thank you.
Mrs. Leclerc.
So my question was on materials, and I don't know if we're currently doing this or not, but when we purchase materials, is there any opportunity to combine with other towns and libraries to buy in bulk, at least the paper portion of it?
We belong to the Connecticut Library Consortium, which
Okay.
offers massive discounts for cooperative purchase throughout the state.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Brown.
You keep a detailed list of what you purchase
Yes.
for library? Can we get that? It might help us see what we're spending our money on.
Do you mean titles?
How detailed?
They're in the card catalog.
Well, look, it's $500,000 of your budget, right?
No, I mean,
What are we purchasing?
right, but I mean, do you want to see more,
I think titles and format.
Do you want to see,
Format,
do you want
that's
to see
what I'm saying.
paper
Let's see,
books?
let's see titles and format, if you don't mind. If it's just a list that's easy to put together, just give us the titles and the format. However you guys look at it, whether it's fiction, nonfiction.
And materials at some point get outdated, correct?
yes.
What do you do with your outdated materials?
We have a number of places that take people in need, that we have a deal with the Bridgeport schools. One of them takes them, some of the adult stuff, to charitable organizations. We have a bunch of places that we give them to.
Okay. Is that every year?
It's not like an annual thing. As we go along, we move stuff over and we get in touch with these agencies and they come pick it up or we deliver.
So with all the books, how many books do we store in the library for people to be able to use? About.
200,000?
And how many of those get taken out generally, annually?
What would you
Not every
say?
book gets taken out, right?
Our circulation is about 800,000, little 850,000 average
Of the same
circulation.
material, or is it,
Well,
do you know?
the new
What
books,
percentage, I guess, does not?
clearly the new books circulate much more often than the older items. So we have a new book collection, and maybe those items will turn over 20, 25 times in a year, whereas a book that's already on the shelf is not in as great a demand, so it's not going to have as much turnover.
So you're looking for the portion of the collection that does not?
We do study these
I
statistics.
mean, I can get back to you, I just can't
That's
tell you
that's
off the
fine.
top of my head.
That's fine. And just going back to the strategic committee, you know there's a town-wide strategic committee currently?
Yes.
Okay, do you plan on working with them? They've done a lot of, I think they moved forward at some point, right? Some legwork?
I know they've started. I am not sure how we're going to work together with them, but it's certainly something that we can explore.
I'm just thinking they're supposedly looking at the whole town,
Mm-hmm.
and you may not want to duplicate some efforts. Obviously, yours is specialized,
Right, absolutely.
but they've done some legwork, they have a committee, they might be able to help you.
Yep, sure, I will look into that, thank you.
Any other questions? We'll go on. What I intend to do is go to the library branch and then come back and look at your revenue lines. Before that, though, I have a question for you. Do you track, we talk about how many people use the library, and that's great and all that. Do you track how many Fairfield residents use the library? Because that is more, we're representing the taxpayers of Fairfield, so we want to make sure that it's our residents who are frequenting the library the most. Do you track that?
We do, I don't have exact, I mean, I can get back to you with exact numbers, but we do track.
No, that'd be great if you did, just in these economic times, and giving that it's the taxpayers of Fairfield.
Right.
Nothing against the surrounding towns. But, in previous years, we've actually seen advertising up for the library, right? I mean, before you were here, there was advertising for the library. Come to our library, right? And it's kind of like, I want to know that it's Fairfield people coming to our
I
library.
understand.
So I'd love to know that, right? Thank you. Any other questions, or we can go to the branch library? All right, let's turn to the branch library, which is just after the main library. So this would be page 243 and 244. So this budget's going up a much smaller percentage. Quick question here. I see the materials in the main branch are going up. The materials here are going down year over year. Are we not servicing the libraries at the same, I know the dollar amounts are different, but are we not servicing them at the same levels?
We are, that's a smaller, actually, I asked for it to go up, but the first selectman kept it flat on this one. It doesn't have as much space, real estate space. And
Okay.
the electronic stuff is mainly bought out of the main budget, so that's why you see that this one's a little bit lower. They're still going to reap the benefits of what we have, it's just.
So this isn't a service issue, we're not servicing?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
All right. Thank you. Do we have other questions on the branch library right now? Any other questions? How's that building holding up? We did the new roof, we're doing the elevator, but that building's been in somewhat bad shape in other areas. How's it doing now?
It's holding up, but we're very excited about the elevator, very excited about the elevator.
You just want to go up and down in that elevator.
That's all we want to do. No, it's going to, the programs that are downstairs, it's just to have people be able to get where other people are, it's just going to be amazing. It's really an important thing.
Okay, and are we still having water issues in the basement of that library?
Not really, no.
Okay. And nothing else there right now?
Not that I know.
Okay. Anybody else, any questions on the branch library? Seeing none, let's go to the revenue side. And the library revenue is on page 19. I think our percentages are off here, because we have revenue going down 100% in every category.
That's not good.
Yeah. And then it all adds up to minus 2.75, so I don't know, math might not be my strong suit, but that doesn't seem to work.
Oh, boy.
So, are there any areas of concern right here? And do we have any questions from anyone? Who sets the room rental rates? Is that the Board of Trustees?
Yes, they do.
Are they staying flat year over year?
I think we went through them, before I got there,
Yeah.
would you say within the last 3 years?
We
3
did
years?
raise
So I would think when they were raised, and I would think, though, with the strategic plan coming up, that we will look at
Take another
all
look.
of that.
Okay. The invested funds, remind me of that again. I remember that previously, there's an amount of
It's a schedule that the board pays out of the debt service every year. They give, it's a schedule, so, that you
Mr.
agreed
Mayor, do you
upon.
remind us of the invested funds of the library? I can't recall that it's $134,000. It's half their annual amount. I'm trying to remember what that was.
That's a transfer from the endowment
Right.
How much is the endowment?
that pays for the bond debt for the renovation, if I remember.
Yeah, but how much was the endowment? Do you
How much
remember?
is the endowment? I don't,
I'm sorry, I don't know what's in
And who administers that?
the library.
the library.
Administers the endowment itself?
And the person that does is not here this
And invest those funds. Can you just give us a schedule of what's going on with the endowment level there, just so that we
Yeah.
know? Okay. Anybody else, any other questions on the revenue for the library?
Would just like to mention to your recent point about out-of-town users that 25,600 is a payment that we get from the state for having out-of-town patron usage.
Right. I'm just wondering if that's, what percentage that is, how they calculate that revenue number, how much people pay.
Well, it's getting funded less and less by the state, I'll say that. There's a
That's,
formula,
and that's
but-
exactly my concern, right? So the town of Fairfield taxpayers are paying more and more, we're getting less from the state. Who's using our library? Who's reaping the services off that? You know, that's kind of a critical point to me, anyway. Anybody else? Mrs. Esma?
Thank you. Can you just explain the grant and the rental fees that look like they've gone to zero?
We don't have that category. We haven't had it in quite some time. We don't rent books.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, seeing none, I'll open it up to the public for any comments on the library. If we can just, someone, if you can move one of the microphones over so they can do that. Thank you so much.
If you don't mind, I just want to make my statement before they talk. Is that
Sure.
okay? Can I do that?
You
Thank
can.
you so much. Okay, thank you so much tonight. I just wanted to add that the library is committed to a responsible budget. The increase requested, as you saw, largely reflects a partial restoration of library materials. As part of our town-wide effort to cover the budget deficits created by the state this fiscal year, the library sustained a cut to the materials budget of just over $190,000, a hiring freeze, and a reduction in operating hours. These steps provided the town with a salary savings of $220,000 for the first and second quarters of fiscal year 18. During the third quarter of the fiscal year, we were able to partially restaff the library by filling 7 of the 11 vacated full-time positions. This reestablishment of a portion of the full-time staff, thankfully, led to the restoration of library hours and much joy in the community, I might add. The town will continue to realize salary savings by regulating the amount of full-time positions filled. In times of economic stress, the services, materials, and space the public library provides are even more crucial to the public. The library is an economic engine that helps people find jobs and gain skills. Our weekly job skills program assists approximately 100 people per month. Each week, a new job search tactical skills are highlighted, including resume writing, networking, and interviewing. Each week, over 275 children and their caregivers come to participate in our early literacy programs offered at Woods and Maine. Our partnership with the Fairfield Public Schools continues to be strong through visits that inspire reading, assisting teachers with curriculum support, and co-hosting information sessions on all the electronic resources available to students and families with their library card. Our libraries provide access to information and a place to gather, learn, and connect. Our special events like the NASA-sponsored solar eclipse, if any of you were there, the 700 people that attended, it was fabulous, and our Star Wars Reads Day serve as a way to bring new library users of all ages and connect them with the other members of the Fairfield community through the library. Fairfield is a well-educated community which values its learning institutions. The limited materials budget allowed us to somewhat keep pace with demand for the popular, while forcing us to neglect new formats, material replacement needs, and smaller segments of the service population. Our major concern is that continuing at the current material budget level will lead to a reduction in the quality of the collection. The reinstatement of the materials budget to the fiscal year 18 levels provides a public library that more adequately reflects the wonderful community that Fairfield is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any members of the public have anything they would like to say? Yeah, please. Good evening.
Hi,
Please state your name and your address so that we have it for the record.
my name is Margot Kaminsky, 105 Calico Lane, Fairfield. I am the president of the Friends of Fairfield Public Library. And the Fairfield Public Library system is one of our town's unique treasures. The programs and opportunities offered free to the public, like museum passes, homebound book delivery, even garden seeds, can enhance life in Fairfield for all residents. Last year, everyone shared the pain of the budget shortfall. The library lost staff and reduced open hours. Recently, we were able to restore full hours and refill some, though not all, of the missing staff positions. I'd also like to say that we are grateful that this coming fiscal year, the decrepit elevator at the branch building will get its badly needed upgrade, bringing the building into full ADA compliance. This year's budget will once again require sacrifices all around. Nevertheless, we hope that the town will continue to fund the Fairfield Public Library at the highest level possible for the benefit of all the residents of Fairfield. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your hard work for the community. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Are you coming up?
Yeah.
You got to be quick on the draw.
Yeah, they were all happy. Good evening. My name's Bill Schloth. I live at 80 Mountain Laurel Road. And I just wanted to really start off here. I'm 35-year resident, and first 4 of those were at Fairfield U. So I've gotten the full spectrum here, where started downstairs just studying, have 4 children that enjoyed the children's centers through that process, and now have been working with SCORE, which is an organization, have hosted myself for the community, you know, with SCORE, a number of events, 30-plus people, spoke at those events, have held meetings with Fairfield residents every 4th Monday. It's a business session, small business meetings. And I sort of say full cycle because it's amazing what the library has to offer. That about a year ago, I didn't know it had that much to offer. And I think that's an important piece. I'm a CPA, so there's a boring side of me, so budgets are okay, but I have an MBA in marketing, and I say that because if we could get a little more exposure out there in the community about how powerful, there's so many events there. There was a lot of groups I've now had in there that I think are going to open up little jam places, this Southern Jam right down the street. Just wanted to give my support for it because, boy, there's a lot of business and traffic I think we could get in if did a little more, I'm not going to say 21st century social media type stuff. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, just quickly, Patty Dyer, 219 Toilsome Hill Road. I just wanted you guys all to know, everybody that's here to support the library tonight, if you could stand up. So all these people came out tonight in the snowstorm, just to let you know how supportive we are of the town library and funding it to its fullest extent. And it is one of the few places in town that every single resident can use regardless of age, interest, you don't have any special skills to be there. So it really is one of the special places in town that every single resident can take advantage of. So we would just urge you to fund the library to their fullest extent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, I don't see anyone else. Thank you very much for being here tonight, ladies. Thank you. Have a good evening. All right, we're going to turn our attention now to the building department on page 215 through 217. Good evening, Mr. Connell. How are you?
Hope everyone fared well with the storm.
Well enough to be here, I guess. I think a few people lost power. And that's, I know Mr. Mottola had a power issue this evening. So your budget is page 216 are the numbers. It's going up 1.42%, or a little over $9,000. The vast majority of it appears to be in motor vehicle, and there's a little bit in salary, correct? $9,000 in salary?
Yeah, salary changes, and I have a little bit in the travel and meetings.
Okay. And there, I guess there was a contract settlement?
Yes.
That's a big portion of this?
It is, correct.
Do we have any questions, comments, concerns on the budget for the building department? No changes in personnel? Mr. Becker, please.
Yeah, just a question about your program. You were trying to digitize things. You were here maybe 1 year or 2 years ago. You had started off this program. How's that been going? Would be one question. Two, is it going to enter into other areas? I know there was some talk about maybe involving, like, sort of starting here, and then maybe other departments might be interested, and sort of that sort of record side. And then just from a costing standpoint, if I'm noticing lines like that aren't really necessarily going up. So are you being held back by that, or is it more that it's sort of fitting within your sort of financial and sort of what you're looking to do with it parameters?
Yeah, we have a scanning program right now. It's very slow, very small. It's conservative. I'd certainly like to scan all the paperwork in the basement, but that's unrealistic at this time. Estimates are from $100,000 to $150,000 worth of scanning some large plans. You know, we're sitting in a tidal wet area down there, the FEMA zone, so we'd like to get them onto a digital format. Presently, we're asking all larger projects that are coming out to present all of their final information on a digital format. But yes, in fact, we are doing small amounts of scanning. So it's helping in some areas, but it does accumulate downstairs in the basement.
And do we pay off-site at all for that, or is that going to become a problem soon?
We have a company that comes on site, takes our product off site, and they're very lenient. We have a monthly rate with them. They take as much as they can do. It's the Kennedy Center. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Most people are. They do a fine job at what they do. It's so they're very lenient with us, and we're lenient with them. Take as much as you can. It's a set fee per month, and it's worked out very well for us in that we can get a lot of our smaller format documents scanned, get them out of the way, and once we can actually review them and make sure they're all intact, then we're going to get rid of them. So we have to apply to the state to get rid of any of that paperwork as well. So.
Have you thought about maybe asking even the smaller projects to go digital? You have to assume that at this point almost everything is in some form, even if it's not CAD or, right, even...
Yeah, the document, the retention of document is a little different on the residential side, so we only have to retain the larger plans for 2 years, then we can destroy them. That's a state, from the state. The larger format drawings are all being presented to us, larger projects, commercial.
But wouldn't that be the most impactful to the largest population and the largest tax-paying population in the town? The sort of the residential side of it? Somebody comes in, they move in a new house, they want to see what happened. you're trying to do it, but guaranteeing, and it might be you started now, but 40 years from now, when these projects are really far behind, and you can't just call the architect from the last owner, but it's sort of thinking forward in what could be sort of a simple ask now for sort of that long term, and
mean
hitting a big population.
Retention of the documents?
But the electronic component, trying to get that done sort of across the board.
I'd really like it.
And you wouldn't necessarily have to worry about the financial component if you got towards system of requiring it, right? Because then they're not, similar to the new ones, they're not scanning them, they're supplying it that way.
Smaller projects, residential projects, we don't have to retain the documents anyway. So that larger...
I understand the requirement side of it. I guess what I'm saying is that 90% of, our base here is residential, right? So you've got a large residential population that would be positively affected by this project that you're slowly paying for, but it's primarily focusing on the commercial side of it, right? And one of your issues is the cost, which makes it, you have a great project, you don't have a ton of money to do much with it.
What records are you talking about that you're trying to get digitized? You're kind of losing me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a little lost here too. All of the
Explain exactly what
documents that come into the town hall should, as far as building permits,
Right.
should be on some electronic format.
Right.
So I would say that we're having the smaller documents, the single permits put on as we go along.
Right.
What we're trying to do is get on the large documents, full plans for full buildings on a digital format. So, I don't understand the question.
Okay. You're getting the large commercial ones.
I'm getting them presently for about 4 years now. We're getting those.
So what I'm trying to understand is the small residential ones.
Right.
Are you getting those?
No, we're not.
But you could ask for them. And if you ask for them
There's
that
no
way-
need to, because we don't retain those. We only retain them for 2 years. So that's a state record retention. We only retain those for 2 years. Is the question, can we get them? Yes, we can.
We're a service industry, right? In theory, we always talk about how as a town, sort of, we're a people-driven sort of service in a
What are
lot
the
of
records?
ways,
What are you
right?
concerned about, though, David?
So you're talking about the plans, right?
Correct. Correct.
So homeowner wants copies of plans buys a new house, walks into the building department and goes, geez, I want to do renovation, whatever, I want to, buys an old house but had renovation, right? Happens probably all the time. Geez, I'd love to get some documents related to this. You don't have any of them because you're not required to hold on to them.
Correct.
Yet you have a system that if they simply, from now on, everybody who does a plan gives you a digital copy, you could integrate the residential component into it.
Correct.
And at
I could. Yes,
no
I
or
could.
very minimal cost if they're giving you them,
Well, there's
which you're
just-
already doing on the commercial side.
Correct. I need space to put them. So I need a software or cloud, a
Right.
server, someplace to put this information.
Right.
But you
Because
have.
the more,
But you have that, and the least expensive cost element for you would be
don't.
the storage.
I don't have a large storage system.
Okay.
I do not have.
So that's what I'm trying to get at from a costing standpoint.
Do you get a lot of requests for those records?
From time to time, we do, yes. Residential, yes, we come in, yes, they would like copies of, or basically, they would like to see what's going on a particular property. I would like to take a look.
Okay,
Yes.
I mean, would they be willing to pay for it?
No.
So they wouldn't,
I mean,
I
they
mean,
may,
you know
they
that-
may. They come in, they open a set of
Oh.
plans, they take their phone out, they take a picture of it, see you later, goodbye, because they're only looking at one particular room, one particular item on it. It's not a big thing to look at a document that's from 1962. It's not really.
Yeah,
it's
and
not
if
a
I
big
might,
thing.
it's also levels of the game at this point, because CAD technology has now become part of the real estate marketing piece. When you look at homes, you see floor plans all laid out. Now, they're
Right.
not A2 surveys, certainly, to that degree, but they do lay those all out. So technology is catching up on that side. If somebody needed an A2 survey, they may not be able to get it through the building department from that standpoint, but I suspect most folks aren't coming in and need that level of detail, so they can certainly pay for that if they need to, as opposed to the town doing it for everybody, given the percentage that come in and ask for that.
That's what I'm trying to get to. I don't know what the
But,
market.
but if a floor plan like, and a recent house purchase, the floor plan was part of the real estate document. So you got that, the measurements were there, so you can plan your furniture, you can plan, and it's all right there in the document you had. I didn't have to bother Tom, and it was everything we needed. Certainly, we wouldn't plan an addition off that document, but if we have someone coming in, we're going to pay for the additional survey to cover the addition as well as the part of the house that's relevant for that.
Yeah, but getting an old
So
copy of
I-
a survey is not what I'm talking about, and you'd have to pay for a new one anyways, or get original copies. Simply getting a copy from the building department on a survey isn't that. Building plans, some of the history on work that's been done, after 2 years, you're getting rid of it. So the resident comes in, buys a house, wants to find out what they did over a period of time. They basically have to start from scratch. He's not mandated to hold it. I mean, it would clearly pile up. In this day and age, digital and the storage of digital is not very expensive. And I would give an example, and you'd be familiar with, Mike, the vision appraisal. So you'd ask 15 years ago, how many people ever really pulled the appraisal? You only did it when you had to, right? But now it's at the fingertips. So people go on and buy a house, they can easily jump on there, and they can pull up information online. The more accessible you make it, the higher the population that's going to use it is going to be. And this is something that potentially people would even want to pay a small fee for, which might cover it. And he's already doing it. I guess my point, I'm not knocking you for what you're doing. I asked about it in the past. I think you're doing something great. It just seems like it's only hitting the commercial population and not the residential. And it seems like when we talk about revenue opportunities, potentially something that would have a little bit of an offset and something that you already somewhat put into place.
Okay.
Thank you.
you.
That's where I'm at. So.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. Any other questions, comments? Let's go to the building revenue. It's going up from $2,060,000 to $2,537,000. Good job. Can you get more?
I'd like to get more. We're trying.
Tell us how you built this up. This is all departmental estimates versus 3-year averages from what it looks like. So there's a methodology in this, so tell us about it.
Sure, of course. So basically, I took a 3-year average. We took a look at that. The 3-year average in general has consistently gone up. We increased our fees. So per $1,000 of value, we put a $2 fee increase on that. So it's that's the main driver here. We have other drivers involved. We have some major players. The universities, as everyone know, are planning some very large projects.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? We know what's going on with Sacred Heart at GE. What's going on with Fairfield?
Know what's going on with GE? I wish I did.
Well, no, I mean, we know there's work going on.
There's some things that are on the books that they're going to do one building at a time right now at the West Campus GE. So they're going to start with the first floor. They're doing about a quarter of the first floor today as we speak. They're going to finish out the first floor, I hope, next in July, I believe, and then begin the second floor. So they're going to begin to fill that space up once they find they need the academics for it. They're going to use it for some of their night schools and post-grad. They have some other plans for buildings there that I'm not really at liberty to discuss because it's really a planning stage and a financial stage with them. But they're still filling up the Jewish old age home property. They have at least 2 dorms that are going to start they were thinking in April, I'm thinking in June, and then possibly 2 more dorms in next fiscal year. So there's
On the same property?
On the Jewish old age home, yes, yes.
Okay, and
correct.
Go ahead.
And they're converting the existing buildings. They're not
No,
taking anything down, or they?
They're taking down Kerensky today as we speak. So that's coming down. They would like 4 separate dorms on there. They renovated the 5-story building. They have 138 units up in there now, I believe. It's 138. So a complete renovation. Anybody want to see a beautiful campus, you should take a ride through that campus. It's unbelievable. They completed a 1950s style diner on their property, just completed. They're doing a rec center right now. So they have a lot of plans. Whether they come to fruition or not will depend on money. They believe in the more debt is good debt, and they're building as fast as they can get zoning approval. So a lot going on. And I would say the same for Fairfield University.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Well, Fairfield University is a little more limited in land structure, but they're certainly doing, they're going to do a school of business, a large-scale school of business. They're going to shift around and take some of their school of business and maybe knock down another building, maybe build another building, an administrative building. They're talking dorms as well. They're talking some smaller projects, as well as some renovations.
And some of this is in these numbers?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. They had some projects we were unaware of. They put in an entire air conditioning system, separate building that we were unaware of, so that they could tie in.
Oops.
No, it's good, because now they can use summer projects. They're leasing out their space to summer camps and baseball, football, lacrosse programs, putting their kids into non-air-conditioned space. And it's a very competitive field that they're involved in, so they put on a whole chiller plant.
What else is going on commercially, Tom, that are in these numbers?
Commercially, we're in a phase of some large residential projects that are coming out. The Commerce Drive, and the gentleman that built the large 5-story Commerce Drive is a consortium over there that wants to put on several more buildings and a parking garage over there. So, yeah, it's fill up some of the spot over there. They have some existing buildings that they have wasted space down below. They want some commercial, some space there. We are going through some elder care right now. We have 2 ongoing elder care buildings, fairly large, on Pease Avenue, and the one over behind Carlton, thank you. I was thinking of the name of them. And then we also have the old Jewish temple from Strathfield Road. They would like to come out. I was hoping that money would be next year, but that money's coming in now. So a little bit will be next year. What they'll do is they'll put the building dollars now and the mechanical dollars in next year. Okay. So everybody can understand. I know it's a constant problem with understanding the phasing here, but we take building money and then mechanical down the road. So sometimes one follows the other. It's it's not hard to follow. You just have to understand a little bit of it.
Right. Any questions specifically on revenue here? Go ahead, Sheila.
So your fees went up. You did a survey, right, of other towns in terms of their permit fees, and kind of did a comparative analysis and then said, you know what, we're not charging enough, and you made the decision to raise the fees?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. So we've only had one complaint so far about the fee change, so I thought that was pretty good.
So we're now comparable with what other towns did you look at?
We looked at West Hartford, we looked at Norwalk, we looked at Bridgeport, we looked at Westport. We really took 5 towns into consideration. Some are high, some are low. We were really on the low side of the middle. So I wasn't unhappy with it, but I recognized that we could do something with our revenue there. So I think it was a good opportunity. As I said, nobody has made I have one complaint, one small contractor made a complaint, and we try to let him know how it helps everybody out to have that in there. So he got over it real quick. Sure.
Anybody else? Mrs. Leclerc.
So how are we doing with the processing of our building things? Are we being able to stay on schedule and, or are we still lagging behind? Or is there a long wait for our services?
As far as what? You mean getting?
Getting a building inspector out to visit a site?
You know, it changes. Right now, we've had and I would say we've had I'm not going to say a slow winter, but really where we should be winter, where people aren't rushing to get out. We're not 2 weeks behind. We will go 2 weeks when all of these 3 elder care are looking for occupancy. The beach area is still booming. It's hard to believe, but we're still knocking 80, 90 houses down a year. And that's a tremendous amount. When you survey the other towns, no other town is knocking that much real estate down. That's a tremendous amount of building. I really have to praise my inspectors. They go out in every single climate. They never complain about everything. They're out there, and they'll do as many as 9 or 10 inspections a day when we get busy. And it's a big town from point to point, and they're out there doing it. So we can be as many as 2 weeks behind. So.
And is that okay? Is that what happens in other towns too, or I have no idea.
I don't think any other town, to be truthful, I'd like to brag and say no other town is as busy as we are with the staff that we hold. As I said, my staff, they're all trained for multi-disciplines, so we don't send 4 inspectors to one job. We send one guy that knows all of it. Okay. I say all of it. We have specialties when we have a specialty inspection. Some solar is very specialty. The new solar panels are coming out with the Tesla batteries. That's new on the market. And it really takes it's a real nuance in the electrical trade to fit that into who can inspect it. So there's a lot of specialty. Like I said, we inspect all of our commercial buildings with a fire marshal. That presents a better approach to inspecting for all of us. But as I said, we only send 1 inspector to each job. And that gives us a broader or a greater ability to do more work.
Thank you, Tom.
Sure.
All right, anybody else? Ms. Esmond? Yeah.
Tom, how often do state statutes and codes change? I mean, is there some cadence similar to a census? And then what is the implication of change? What happened the last time, perhaps? You know that.
I am glad you asked that, because the state is changing again. The state for a long time did not make a big change, a big jump. The code books change every 3 years. So the state now has adopted that cycle. We're still several years behind, but they're going to take in a brand new code cycle, a new code family right now, which is Mike has allowed me to put a little more money in there for travel and expenses. I need to make sure, as I said, each of my men are cross-trained. These as an expense, we have to buy 7 books per man, as well as some of the other NFPA requirements, National Fire Protection Association. We have to have all the documentation. It's a highly technical field right now. It's not simply put shingles on a roof. It's highly technical, so we really have to be well educated. They're changing all the time. New products are out there, and my guys are on top of it. My guys go to their own code classes on their own time, on their own money.
If there's a code violation, is that fine levied on the town?
No, we don't fine anybody. No. The fine,
The state doesn't fine us.
no.
Okay.
Don't give them any ideas.
No, we don't fine. The fine is really on holding the job up. So you don't, if you fail, you don't progress. That is on the contractor, and we try to educate the contractor so we do progress. We're not about stopping people, we're about moving forward. We are noted for that. Other departments come to our department to see how we operate, and we are noted for that.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. My last question is,
Do all certificates of occupancy have to be signed off on by the fire marshal?
Commercial, yes. Any of the commercial or large residential, which we put into the commercial, yes. Anything over a two-family, so three-family and beyond has to be signed by the fire
Thank you.
marshal, yes.
All right. Any other questions? Anything from the public? Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Conlon.
you. And David, we can speak again about the,
Yeah, thank you. I'll stop in.
yeah, thank you.
All right. Let's go to page 225, which is the Health Department. Welcome, Mr. Cleary. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We're going to do health, and then we're going to do human and social services. So the Health Department's 225, 226, 227, up 8.77%. The largest thing here is the union contract settlement of several years. Fair statement?
That's correct.
Did we get that analysis that we asked for? It was sent late today, correct? I haven't had the opportunity.
Tuesday.
I didn't see that on Tuesday. Okay, I'll have to go back and look. Did anybody else see that? You got it? Okay. The other big thing is motor vehicle fuel and lube. I'm imagining, is some of this coming from the town? What's going on there? Can you, yeah, tell us what's going on with motor vehicle. That's a big number here in the increase.
It went up $700, you know.
It's a big percentage, not a big number, but what's going on?
It's essentially, we plugged our numbers in terms of gallons used into the formula that we were provided. That yielded an increase. I believe it's largely to do with all of our inspectors now are using the Crown Victorias, as opposed to, we had, I think, 3 Hondas at one point, and then for a while we had the electric car. And
What's going on, Mr. Mayor?
Prices are up and vehicles are changing, and that's,
Okay, so you had a calculation that you gave across the town for this, so we should be seeing a similar in every
correct.
department. Can we take a look at that calculation? Can you send us what your assumptions were?
When you say the calculation, you want to just see the,
The rates and all that kind of
Rates,
stuff,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Mr. DeWitt,
Just as a note, the 3 budgets we've looked at already tonight have all gone up.
yeah,
And it's all, you know, it's a death by 1,000 cuts, it's $500-600, but they all look like they're going up 14-ish%. Is that purely fuel? Because fuel is not up that much.
Are you talking about motor vehicle alone?
I paid
Well, that-
$239 3 months ago, I pay $279 now.
We'll give you the comparison.
It's fuel, I mean, this is motor vehicle fuel and lube, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You think it's purely driven by gas?
really.
Price.
Okay.
it's price and vehicle.
what else, what other question? Mr. Cleary, should you point out anything to us about your budget? And if not, I can go
the
to
only thing I wanted to bring to your attention, that's essentially, you know, all my line items are level, as you see, other than the personnel line items, the fuel line item. And then the one other thing I'd bring your attention to is our temporary payroll. If you look at the history of that, we've been kind of going over, and we've been reporting at the quarterly reports that we've kind of been going over this line. This line was at one point up to $55,000, I think, and we've, over the years, brought it down to 40. We were running around 39K for several years. So we kind of, even though we went over the first year, we kind of held it, and then we had a really poor experience year. And essentially, this is folks, our staff getting sick, long-term illnesses. We bring in a sub to cover that. So we're experiencing what we think now is just a new normal amongst our staff. And so we looked back over several years and came up with an average. We kind of looked at that high number, that 68, that we had one year back in FY16 as a outlier. And we looked back another year and did a 3-year average of those years, leaving that year out, and felt comfortable with the 51 number that would be most likely cover that. And it may come down in time. It's this line item kind of goes up and down. If it comes down, as we did in the past, we'll reduce it back down.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Any other questions on these budgets? On this budget? Seeing none, let's go to, Human and Social Services. I think we changed the name of this, didn't we?
You want to talk revenue?
Oh, yeah, actually, good idea. Thank you. Let's go. What page is revenue? Thank you so much.
27,
27.
28, and 29, and 31 I have lines on.
That's a lot of pages. That's a lot of pages of revenue.
Yeah, it is. It should be a
Oh, I
big
have
number.
one line on each other page, but essentially our revenue has gone up. Similar to Tom, we did a survey of fees across the town. We brought our fees up on average 35%. It raises about $38,000 in revenue.
Brought your fees up 38%?
35, around 35% on average, you know. Some were larger than others. But
So if we look at page 27, we're looking under health and we're seeing all these different licenses and permits, correct?
yes, that's correct.
Page 18.
Page 18 and 19 we'll be able to do it as well. That's better. And you're saying this is largely fee increases?
Yeah, that's all the fee increases that we did.
So no change in volume and questions from anybody if this is all fee increases? Anybody have anything? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. Mr. Clary, we'll go back to Human and Social Services.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Wow, your motor vehicle's going up even higher than his. Okay. Go ahead. Do you have an opening statement you'd like to
I
make?
do. Of course, Terry Giegengak, Director of Human and Social Services.
And thank you every year for inviting us to the facility for a tour and all that. No, it is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
On behalf of the community, staff, and volunteers of Human Services, I thank you for your generous support and for the valuable resources provided to our department. It has been busy yet a productive year for the Senior Center, senior bus transportation, and social services for all ages. The key factor in the Human Services proposed fiscal year 19 budget is the reallocation of a retired part-time clerk's salary towards a part-time lead social services staff person. This proposed lead social services part-time supervisor would serve as a point person for the director. There would be no change in the department headcount. Currently, the supervisory responsibilities for social services, along with the rest of the 17 part-time department staff, volunteer boards, and the commission, is managed by the director. Capacity has been reached and perhaps surpassed beyond sustainability to safely operate and function. This is due to the increased volume of senior center membership, greater involvement of our senior volunteer community, and an increased utilization of social services by the community. This includes an increase in referrals by first responders and the schools to the social services staff. The proposed social services supervisor is requested to maintain and ensure the well-being and safety of the people seeking supportive assistance. As a brief review, the staff includes, in addition to the director, one other full-time person, a secretary, and 17 part-time staff, including the senior center manager, program coordinator, 5 bus drivers, 2 transit dispatchers, 4 social workers, and a receptionist. Senior center receptionists and coffee servers are paid part-time or minimum wage. And they are, the receptionists, the first-line responders and gatekeepers to everyone who walks into the building or who calls on the main line for services. The part-time payroll increase is due to the hourly wage for the retired part-time clerk of $17 an hour to the proposed part-time social services supervisor of $31 an hour. This reflects a $2 difference from the current $29 an hour that the master's level licensed social workers earn. The increase in hourly wage from a clerk's position of $17 an hour to a social services supervisor hourly wage of $31 an hour increases the part-time payroll by $13,000.
So that's the differential between the clerk leaving and the new person is about $13,000 and $14,000.
Correct.
We have questions, comments from board members on this budget right now. Mr. DeWitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just looking at the revenue. So I know in the last couple of years you've taken on the veteran services, which is near and dear to my heart, as we've discussed many times. Is this new role have any impact on that? It feels like it would.
It does. We certainly have, we have increased our community awareness of veterans at the senior center and in social services by 2 or 3 things. Our traditional Veterans November luncheon is certainly something that helps people to know that we're there and that we, not only as a senior center, but as a social services to help people access benefits. And that is something that we used from the veterans' money that you gave the department. The other is last spring, we did a veteran suicide prevention for not only professionals, but for the entire community. It was a 2-hour program, and again, that was to awareness of younger veterans. We now have a new veterans brochure of resources, which is at the printers. So it's a trifold, which will be an easy handout. And I think we continue to connect to younger veterans, but it is still mainly the older veterans that are looking for home care assistance.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Brown, did you have something?
On capital outlay, nothing, no purchases this year?
Not this year. Not this year.
Or last year?
Well, we got the grant for $48,000 from the state. That and the supplement to that, because the bus costs about $63,000. So I used donation money to help to match that.
I remember talking about that, okay. Yeah. So, is there a plan for the buses? How many years do we generally purchase? How many years go by before we finally need to know?
Well, it's a 5-year replacement plan. It does seem as though every other year, since I've been here for 5 years, this will be the 3rd bus that comes in, which will come in on the fall of 2018. My understanding is that they get a lot of wear and tear. So what I've been advised by DPW Garage is they would like to get one more bus, and then they feel as though, not the one that's coming in the fall of this 2018, but another one, they would like to have that as a secure base, and then they feel that they're in good shape, that we're in good shape. So every other year seems to be about it.
How's the building holding up?
Good, good. Yeah, it's good. The renovations are probably my most fun, but the least priority of what I do. So my account for maintenance and repair of the buildings and grounds, I do intend to complete the renovation of the dining room for audiovisual as well as the multimedia room. And the multimedia room, I'm getting the money from the lifelong learners who are paying rent to the senior center, so that based on their enrollments, so that is purely coming from them to improve the room. And so some other minor things like the gardens and things, but otherwise we're in pretty good shape.
So where does that revenue that you get, where's that reflected in this book, Mr. Mayor?
Revenue for,
Lifelong learners. The only thing I see in the book is human services transportation.
yeah, these,
Can I answer?
these are not in the general fund. These are those donation accounts and/or agency accounts that are outside
So they
the
go
general
in
fund.
directly there, and they're at the discretion. What are these? We've had this in the past where certain departments get money from certain areas, and they spend those funds, right? How do we keep track of that and how they're spending those funds, how much those funds are? I'm
Well,
not questioning it. I just want to know.
They all go through the system. They're all accounted for.
Can we get a printout of what those look like? and
Yeah,
what those
that's,
fund
you've
balances-
requested that.
Yeah.
And then we handed something out a couple of weeks ago that was not quite adequate.
Right, and we don't have the new one yet, right?
And you don't have the new one yet.
Can we get the new one
It's
so we
being
see
worked on.
exactly
It's
what it
being
is?
worked on.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Any other questions on this? We'll go to Mrs. Esma.
Thank you. Terry, I want to thank you and Julie and your whole staff for such an outstanding job that you do at the senior center. I'm just sorry I can't use it more.
Oh, it's coming, though. You'll be there. There's a name on
Day
the
now.
chair over there for you.
So I have a couple of questions. You know, we talked to the library about their Friends group and their fundraising efforts. So you have the Friends of Bigelow. How much are they contributing? I don't know if you can do it on a percentage basis, but, you know, do you have your own strategic plan and where you're thinking about more fundraising in that regard?
So our friends are really a new group. They're still meshing and they're working well. They financed for the senior center our Thursday nights in the fall, which were 9 nights where we had presenters and lecturers and a light dinner. Now, people who came paid $5 for the dinner, but this supplemented the instructors that we had 4 that wanted to be, that were not volunteers, so we paid them 120 some for something, but for the night. But it's for the food, and it was a great hit. In the past, we hadn't done dinners, so this was good. So $2,300 was appropriated by the Friends to the department to cover the cost of that event. They're really getting more events. They've done a cabaret. They're going to do some different things. They're going to start advertising for memorials. So when people want to dedicate something, they will pay a certain fee, and that will go in. So I think it's still out a bit. I mean, I don't know that they have been very generous with different small things. We have a volunteer appreciation luncheon, and so they usually help us with that. They did a wonderful February Valentine's event where they increased their membership, and then, of course, did something for the seniors. They usually do, some of the smaller things would be entertainment for holidays, things like that. But I can get you a detailed amount and send that to you.
Great, thank you. And what would you say is your greatest area of stress? I mean, in terms of need, or, you know, where you could use more resources and stresses on your system?
I will tell you, I put my heart and soul into this for the supervisor for social services, because I really feel as though if we make a mistake in the senior center with the rooms or the programs or the bus and the bus routes, we survive and we learn and we go on. The greatest cause of concern for me is when we have seniors at risk or people with mental health disabilities. It's not the financial assistance that I'm concerned about. It's those that come to us and we get involved with to either get them into a better housing situation or a better senior living situation or home care. I supervise the 4 social workers, and they are excellent. You just don't ever want to overlook anything. So while I attend to that first and foremost during my day, the end of the day is when I catch up with the rest of life. So I think in terms of the overall department, that's exactly why I put this position, and I reallocated it because I feel that we need to have that dedicated person to just be looking at the clients, the names, the addresses, and that sort of thing.
Great. Thank you.
Mrs. Marmon.
Thanks, and I just want to follow up on that because in our budget book, you are asking for this reallocation. You say that this reflects the increasing demand and complexity for social services. What's going on out there? Is it, because I think to a certain extent, you've been very successful in terms of raising community awareness of the programs that you offer, which is fantastic. But on the other hand, all of that need that people are now coming to you for, but what's going on in the community that you see increased complexity with our seniors?
I think it's housing. It's intergenerational housing. So you have different family members living in households where there's stress already, perhaps bringing stress or adding, or however. People are living and they're requiring home care, that sort of thing. So people come in to help, but then there are issues that can happen. There are younger folks that are moving in with mom and dad because they really need the housing. So the stresses that come from that, we are not looking to become the be-all and end-all for every family crisis. So we utilize LifeBridge for counseling, any kind of issues like that. We certainly reach out to the other counseling agencies. I think it's more of the complexities with finances, people using mom and dad's money to help get by, because they're providing home care. So that sort of thing you have to be careful of and see how that's really helping the senior. So there is more of that protective services. I think when we get a referral from the police and fire, we respond to each one, so we look into it in a obviously supportive, positive way. The Medicare Savings Plan, which the state cut or is going to possibly cut or reduce on July 1, is of great concern to me, because when people, it's not the loss of the $125 monthly income, it's really the change up in their insurance. So the concern would be going to CVS or any drugstore and being surprised by not having your medication covered. So I think that's where the social workers get involved. They try to prevent that so that people are choosing the right supplemental Medicare insurance and that they're really not going to be surprised. I mean, the idea is to keep, obviously, people in their homes. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Any other? Seeing none, let's turn to revenue real quick. I already alluded to it. It's on page 19. There's about $4,000 last year. It's a change of about $100, a little, maybe $140 year over year, right?
It's our bus transportation.
And where's this come from?
So this is what seniors pay when they purchase their ticket for $5.
And it's a rate increase, or what's the increase here year over year?
It's, no, there's no rate increase. We haven't increased it.
Okay. And so what's driving it? There's more.
I think the additional number of people that are using the transportation system. So we really are addressing, we have about an unduplicated count of about 209 seniors, but the rides go for about 15,000, so a year.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item? Seeing none, ladies, thank you very much for being here, and thanks for all the hard work.
Thank you.
Good to see you. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we'll allow the Parks and Recs team to come on up, but we're going to adjourn here for just maybe 5-10 minutes at most. Thanks. Going to do yet. Don't thank us yet. All right. We're going to go to page 247. We're going to start with Penfield.
Yes, we are. All right, before we get started, I don't know if I had the opportunity, Anthony Calabrese, Director of Parks and Recreation, to introduce my new Assistant Director who's been on just a little over a month, Galen Brown, and she's sitting in with tonight, and I don't know how much she's going to chime in, but she may.
Very
Keep
little.
me in line.
Welcome.
Very little, thank you.
She's done now.
No, yes.
All right. Let's go to your budget is going up. Okay, your budget's going up 56%. Meeting is over.
That is not a typo. That is 56% an increase. You will notice that there are, in majority of my budgets tonight, lines that were transferred from DPW's budget over to ours, and those were the utilities, mainly gas and electric. So for this budget alone, $34,000 was transferred in.
And I should add on to that those should be expense neutral, because there's a corresponding decrease in the Public Works budget.
And what about cleaning and janitorial supplies?
That's
Is
just-
that because the place has been open?
Exactly. Open for a full year. We saw that, we didn't actually budget for as much as we needed. We've got a lot of people down there that use that building.
Okay, do we have seasonal payroll is also up, is that same?
Same thing, exactly. Just for the demand of the building that we've had, we had to increase that. Other than that, pretty much everything else stayed status quo.
Now, I'm assuming since we're seeing these big increases here, we're going to see a similar big increase on the revenue side, right?
I wish I could say that.
Well, you better.
We could talk revenue if you'd like to jump to revenue now. but-
No, let's see if we have any questions here. Any other questions on Penfield? I didn't see, where are the personnel costs related to Penfield? So we have seasonal payroll here. I don't have any of the detail year over year on seasonal payroll. What page would that be on for the Penfield complex? Is it nothing because it's seasonal?
We don't break
We don't break out part-time.
Okay, so this is a big number here. Can we, what's going on there? Is this rate, volume, both?
It's a little of both. This is our Penfield director who is in charge of essentially manning the operations there. Schedules all the maintenance staff, party attendants.
So he's seasonal.
Parking
He or she.
attendant, seasonal. Yes, seasonal year-round. But yes.
What does that mean? Yeah, did you just make that up? 'Cause
I
that
did.
just-
I'm sure I made it up.
That was
So
good,
it's
actually.
4 seasonal.
4 seasons. Four
Which
seasons.
would be full-time. No,
Well, he works less than 19 and a half hours a week.
okay. So the other departments, when we get to part-time payroll, we actually have details of part-time payroll. This sounds like it's part-time payroll, yet we don't have any details. He just said it's part-time year-round.
Seasonal. Well, there's seasonals.
So what's the difference
Yeah.
between seasonal,
It's the 19 hours.
year-round, and
No, 'cause
part-time,
part-time is
year-round?
19 hours, right.
I mean, seasonal is not year-round theoretically.
He just said this person is year-round, part-time.
Exactly.
So this should be part-time, not seasonal.
So then I guess it's part-time. Then the entire staff would be part-time.
Can we get a listing like we do for the other payroll lines about what this is, please? Thank you.
Oh, here's, part of the background may be that until the Penfield renovations, it wasn't open in the winter because it didn't have heat.
Totally get it.
So the staffing classification has stayed the same, the building's changed, and consequently, the function has changed.
So the staffing classification should
It
change
needs to
too.
keep up with the building.
Yeah. Can we get some detail on this? Because it's a large increase.
Is it true that that's only one person in that line?
No.
Oh.
No, this is 2, 4, this is about 10 people.
Oh, I thought you kept saying he like there was.
The director is one person. He breaks out to roughly 20,000 for the year
Oh, got it, okay.
of part-time work.
How many were there last year?
There would have been about 8. So we added 2 people. But again, this includes parking attendants and maintenance staff, and while it's just a certain number of hours, so the bodies, there could be 15 people hired for the number of hours that really, 2 full-time people would work. It's just a lot of high school kids, college kids that are working these jobs.
Sure. We'd just like it broken out.
Yeah,
like
we could
did
break
the
it
others.
out. I have it.
You're saying some are seasonal and some are part-time.
Yes,
Split.
we have it.
Thank you. Any other questions on the budget as a whole here?
If I may,
Go ahead, Dave.
usually we got, in the past, like a P&L documents on all of these. Do you have that?
I do.
Please send that our way.
For operation.
Full year.
It's been a full
Yeah,
year.
March is the full year.
Okay, that's what I thought, thanks.
Okay, questions, comments more on this budget? I will have some once the P&L comes our way. Can we, if not, let's go to page 21. And you'll look under Penfield, and we have $451,743. And we're going down 2%, so we're going in the wrong direction here.
Yep.
Okay, so what I would like to see, not just the P&L, I would like to see what we expected from this when we paid all the money to get it renovated. So essentially, here was the ROI
Yep.
for why we were doing this, and what the difference is, and an explanation for the difference.
Would you like the explanation now? Because I could pretty much give it to you.
Yeah, but I'd like to see what we thought we were going to get and what we're getting too. But yeah, absolutely.
So while I don't have the actual document with me right now, the assumption was that we were going to get more weekly, during the week, off-peak hours, parties, and we're just not getting them. We have no problem selling out Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the beach season, Memorial Day to Labor Day. Where we do struggle is your December, your January, your February, where we have very few parties. We do get a lot of last-minute bookings, funerals, or things of that nature, birthday parties. But a lot of times, we're not getting the meetings, we're not getting the businesses, the corporations to come in with our rate. You know, they look at our building, they love the location, but they say for the $650 to rent it for that time frame, it's just too much. We have looked at restructuring, and we're in the process right now of working with the Parks and Rec Commission on coming up with a revised rate system.
So
Part-time.
so far, go ahead, Jim.
Anthony,
Yes.
do you have the flexibility to negotiate with them right then and there?
Yes and no. Yes and no. The Parks and Rec Commission sets our rates for the building, so we don't really deviate from that too much. I mean, if we had a group come to us and, you know, in dire need of a space and says, you know, we'll give you $300 for it if it's empty, we would bring that to the commission and say, hey, you know, what do you think about this? We don't get that too often. Most times they walk away. Galen actually has been studying this, so I don't know if I'm misrepresenting anything, but if you feel free to chime in, because I know you've studied these rates.
Yeah, so just in terms of looking at our business, there's definitely some key areas that we can work to drive. So whether that's off-peak days, so Monday through Thursday, and off-peak season, which would be November through March. So those are two areas that we're looking at are driving right now. And the deficit in those areas is what caused us to have a shortfall and kind of reforecast for 2019 fiscal year.
So my question would be, thank you for that. My question would be looking at this, especially versus last year. It's 90,000 in expense versus 141,000. You take out 34,000 and you're still up $20,000 year over year. Why would I do that? If you're taking revenue down by 28,000, you're going in the wrong direction here.
I understand. The 220 that we projected last year, we're just not going to meet. So we took a more realistic approach of what we were going to reach. I didn't want to say we were going to try to do 220,000, knowing we're not going to do 220,000.
I understand, but why would I give you more money to spend?
Well, because we're not adequately staffed for the parties that we have.
So your business model is failing in two areas right now as it relates to this. You're not renting it out. And when you rent it out, not you.
I understand.
But they underestimated expenses for what it was going to cost to do it.
That's what I'm saying right now.
I definitely want to see this as compared to what the projections were when we did this, because I am not inclined to give more money to something that is losing money, or rather, not losing money, but not hitting projections. I don't know why we make expenses go up and revenue come down at the same time. Ms. Marmion.
So have you looked at raising the rates on the weekends when you do have capacity in order to increase your revenue in that direction?
Absolutely. So taking a focus on those peak days of Friday, Saturdays, Sundays is definitely a priority for us. We put together a preliminary plan that we gave to the Parks and Rec Commission in February, and we're revisiting it March 21st and finalizing our plan.
So when would those rates come into effect? If you do change those rates, when would they come into effect? I thought there was some sort of a freeze.
May 1st.
Oh, May 1st. So if I booked a party a year from now,
it's at
I'm
the
safe.
current rate.
At at the current rate.
Right, and we book parties out right now 2 years in advance. So anybody that's booked in 2020 in January, nobody booked. But if anybody did book in January of 2020, they would have gotten the current rate. So we wouldn't go back to them 2 years from now, right before their party, and say, well, you owe us whatever the rate was then.
So okay, so I'm glad you're looking at those rates on both ends, but did we miscalculate the true need of people who wanted to have an event or a meeting during the week? Is that may not go away? I mean, you could lower the rates to become more competitive, but is there truly a need for that space during the week? Have you looked at that as well?
I mean, we are seeing, whether it's charitable organizations or business meetings or functions of that kind, take place in a comp set, whether it's the Gaelic American Club or the Scandinavian Club or even, I think even Burr. We are losing business during those weekday times.
Sorry. So do you have a record of that we could look at so that we could, look at the true need and who you've turned away or who not you've turned away, but who have chosen to go somewhere else so that we can kind of quantify that?
At present, there isn't a turn-away log. So there's no log of requests that came in that we lost. It's something that we can absolutely do moving forward, but it's not in existence at this time.
Yeah, I think it would be useful for the commission to understand who's gone elsewhere and why.
Mr. Brown?
So just a suggestion that we vote about 3 weeks to maybe present a plan, however details you work it out, to either reduce your costs or increase your revenue. Just to get this back on track. I think we had a 20-year return on Penfield we were looking at, right? Between everything, lockers, concession, rental was a big part of it, parking, all of that.
You'll see everything else went up. But yeah, I agree. We could put that together for you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Esma?
Hi, Anthony. So obviously Penfield's not a brand-new building or concession, if you will. It's come online again after the storm. But so prior to that, we have a history of the off-peak usage.
We only have a 1-year history.
Okay.
And that was all we had.
Yeah, the prior building wasn't heated, so there was no winter season.
Okay, so people, you don't have a log, I realize that, but the turnaway is for in-town, generally speaking. That's number one. Number two, excuse me, for a facility like that, when people do want that type of environment or venue, who do you think is our biggest competitor, nearest in terms of the type of facility, cost?
Well, it was difficult to put together a comp set because there's not a lot of beachfront event destinations, at least not here in Fairfield County. When I was putting together a comp set, I was expanding the search, for example, Lighthouse Point in New Haven or Rocky Neck State Park Pavilion. So when I was looking at a comp set, I was kind of basing us off of similar structures and coastal settings. In terms of where we're losing business to here, I have heard people say Gaelic American Club, the Scandinavian Club, and Burr as just local places. Even I think there's an Inn at Longshore as well.
Thanks.
Mr. DeWitt?
Thank you. I'm concerned when you say we set a rate of $600. Someone says I'll pay you $3, and you're I think what you said was we go back to the commission to see if it's okay with them.
Well, we're not given the discretion.
Well, and that's exactly my point. If this is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm totally fine with it. But man, you should have that discretion for weekdays. And I'm also a little confused, and I understand why you're talking about comparables as beachfront locations. But I got to tell you, Monday through Wednesday, or even better, if you're going to the Gaelic Club, you're not seeing the ocean. And if we're losing people to the Gaelic Club, then clearly they're going there for price or because they're members. You got to be a member, right? So it's probably not fair comparable to talk about, at least during the week, the beachfront. For the weekends, for somebody's wedding, I'm totally with you. Inlet, Longshore, all those things, there are good comparables. But I really think, we need to go to the commission and say, give you, maybe you too, the discretion to negotiate during the week, because $300 is certainly better than $0.
If you don't mind, I'm going to invite our chairman of the Parks and Rec Commission up, Scott Walker, because he is
Yeah,
here
bring
in the
him up.
audience.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. No discretion. No, it's fine. That's never come before us as an issue before, as far as saying, hey, we're turning away business at $300 because our rate's $600. But obviously, we would afford the director that leeway. We wouldn't care about that, but it hasn't. But to my knowledge, it hasn't come before us as even been an issue.
Well, again, this has been a 3-month, forget the storm damage and all like that. This has been a 3-month facility up until the last year, for all intent and purpose, right? What about Jackie Durrell? Is that the same circumstance with the weekday rates? Or are you fixed?
No, Jackie's a different animal because it's seasonal. So again, it only falls in that
Yeah,
beach
that's true,
season. So pretty much Jackie, you're booked for the entire season for the most part.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, I really think what we need to do is look at this as compared to the base case, the financing case we used.
Yeah, for sure.
And what you need to get to on the bottom line for how we finance this thing. I understand we're making money, right, but I don't know how much, by looking at the schedule, I don't know how much we're making as compared to how we thought we'd be making.
Right.
And I agree with you, Mr. Walker, giving them discretion during the week to make some additional funds, obviously if it covers the incremental cost
Right.
associated with running the pavilion, but
Right.
it's not what we signed up for. It's disappointing.
Yep.
Go ahead.
If I may?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I realize that you feel it's disappointing, but
Yeah.
understand that what the director brought before the commission was a more realistic projection of revenue. It's not anything that, for lack of effort on the director or his assistant's part, is the reality of the marketplace.
I'm not,
and-
and I don't take it that way.
Okay, it's just, it's, perhaps the projections were wrong.
Right, and we need to understand how wrong they were and what we're doing to mitigate them being wrong.
Right.
Because it goes into credibility, and I don't mean credibility of any person. I mean credibility of projections going forward when we try to do additional projects like this. Because this was a fairly, for lack of a better word, controversial project that we financed based on some projections. Twice, that now look like, and I don't know because I don't have those projections in front of me,
Right.
so I don't know how off we are.
Yep, we'll get them.
From those projections. That's my point. Go ahead, Mr. Brown, I think I cut you off. Did you have something?
Just go back to the same point. I would work to find a way. You can get to 220. You just have to figure out the market and sell it and market and bring these guys in and have the discretion to do what you need to do. But let's work on coming back and saying, you know what, we're going to get to 220.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Walker, for being here. Are there any questions on Penfield? Any other questions on Penfield as we go here? Okay, let's move on then, and let's go to Park and Recreation in general, which is the next set of pages, which is 249 through 251, with the numbers being on, or the expenses being on 251. It's a beautiful thing. I see a reduction in expense here.
Yes, you not mistaken there. You will see a reduction in this budget.
So go ahead, tell us what's going on here. Is this an allocation issue, or what's happening?
No, so what I did here, you'll see full-time salaries. Obviously, we've got, Galen started at a lower rate, the assistant director, and then we've funded the recreation coordinator position will be, once that gets filled, will be at a lower salary as well. But the big savings here is in the seasonal I'm just going to say, because it says seasonal payroll, so that's what I'm going to call it this time, seasonal payroll. What is in there for that $15,000 is our special needs year-round drop-in program, seasonal employees. What we took out of there was our summer camps, our special needs summer camps. And we put that into our revolving fund and increased the rate so it would cover by the user fees. And if it doesn't end up covering, we know that the rest of our programs will offset it. So it'll still be supplemented. Not like that program's going to go away. So that's where that reduction came from there. Other than that, I mean, there's some salary things on there, just the longevity and Social Security, so you don't have to worry too much about that. The contracted line did increase. It's 8%, but it's only $400, and that's for the tree lighting, the actual lights that go on the tree. And then, yes, our motor vehicle fuel did go up 13%, but again, it's $28 or so. So everything else stayed status quo.
Anything on Park and Rec? Mr. DeWitt?
So you removed the special needs summer camp, but the rest of the summer camp seasonal payroll is still in there?
No. The only thing that's in here now is the year-round special needs drop-in program. So that's our after we call it after-school chill, and it's their Saturday drop-in program.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Anybody else on this? Seeing none, can we turn to the Park and Rec P&L? We'll compare it to what's here, 448, 551. Go ahead, Anthony, talk to us about this, please.
Okay, so here what you're seeing, essentially the big jumps are in recreation programs, where we'd always say, for the last several years, I don't want to say always, the last several years, we've budgeted $80,000 in programming fees. What we had done is we've typically given more back to when we turned in more than that. So I said, you know what, we are continuing to do that on an annual basis. I'll make it the 160 because I know we can get there.
Is this because of the revolver fund?
It is.
So what you're saying is, hey, instead of putting it into the revolver fund, we'll kick it back over
It's
to the
going
town.
back to the town, exactly. So that's where that extra 80,000 comes from. And then field rentals is the other big one, where it was, you know, roughly 85,000 last budget, and we're looking to bring in 175,000 this year.
How's that, please? How are you going to do it?
We've been charging all the user groups now, so the leagues are getting charged. It used to, for the last couple of years, it was just travel soccer and the recreation programs that were paying the users' fees. But we started hitting the Pop Warner leagues, Wildcats, Babe Ruth, adult softball, those leagues. So
little leagues.
Little leagues are a kind of a different animal. They actually pay directly to the contractor right now, and they pay, actually, when you break it out, it's almost $50 a kid as opposed to the $25 that we charge. But they like that. They don't mind paying a little more because they have the flexibility of calling the contractor in for every game on a Saturday to reline the fields, where if it was just us, we would probably just line it once in the morning, and then, you know, by that 3 o'clock game, the lines are messed up, and we wouldn't reline it.
Great. And you've checked your rates, and they're comparable with what other towns are charging for
Yeah,
their rates?
we're actually probably below market compared to other towns. We try to keep our programs affordable. We still have a very large scholarship population with our camp programs and stuff like that. And we work with the social services department as well. They take care of a lot of our kids now.
And you still continue to sell out a lot of your programs, don't you?
Yep. Our summer camps just did their registration last week, and for the most part sold out again.
Yeah, I had heard something about that, yeah. Anybody have other questions on this line item right now? It's, I hit you a little bit on Penfield. I'm going to give you kudos on this one. This is very nice. It's, love to see the status of the revolving fund, too, and where that stands when you get a chance.
We can get that to you.
That'd be great. The tennis is all working out down with the bubble down there. That's still a good partnership down there right now?
That is, yep.
Okay. Mrs. Marmon?
Did I hear something, the beanery is no more, and now there's something else going into that
Yeah, so-
space, and I can't remember what it is. What's going on with that?
One of the other things that we explored, actually, I'll give you two examples of this. We wanted to explore another public-private partnership, and the best way that I could do it, I thought, was by leasing out the beanery building. So what we had done, I looked at the last couple of years. Building opened in 2014. We made about $15,000 in programming last year, and that was it. We're short-staffed, as you guys have heard me sit here before say. For $15,000, I just knew we could bring in more money. So essentially, we put it out to bid. We have a base rent now that is $30,000 for the year. So we doubled our revenue right there. And the deal we worked out with the group that's in there, which is it's Boost Performance Sports, is that we also get 20% of everything that comes through the door. So every one of their programs. So it has potential to be, if they do well, we do well. They're still offering the teen dances that we always offered when we wanted to run that building. They're offering all the kids programming, the teens programming. There's adult programming there now. Still following all the rules of Parks and Recreation, but I think we're utilizing that building a lot more now, and you guys will start seeing that return in our numbers, I think, after the end of this year. And then the second thing that I'll mention too was also the skate park. Skate park, the town spent $250,000 on back in 2009 when we did that. It's always been free and open, just like a field. And I think that's always been the philosophy. We wanted to keep it free and open for people to use. It did have limited hours. During the school day, it was always 3 to 6 or 3 to 7 in the summer, right when school got out, and then basically 10 to 6 on the weekends. So we assumed all liability on that. So what we looked at doing was leasing that out, getting a company to come in, manage it, so we can take that staffing off our payroll, seasonal staffing. So we saved about $25,000 in staffing there. And they've had to provide the insurance, which was, for them, is about another $15,000. So we're looking at about a $40,000 turnaround on the skate park. But now we've got a group that's in there starting April 1st that will run programs. They will, increase skating down there while, using the exact same guidelines that we always had down there. And they are paying a rent to us every year. It's not a lot to start out. Again, this was a risk for them because they had to pony up the insurance money, which has always been the big issue here.
But then the kids are paying a fee?
No,
How are they?
no,
How are they making money?
Lessons and programs.
Oh,
So
okay.
their plan is to hit lessons and programs, which, like I said, we've never offered because we never had the staffing to do it down there. We were just paying basically a monitor to stay there and make sure people were wearing helmets, and as we know, sometimes that didn't even go that well. But yeah, their goal, their business plan is to offer lessons, camps, and programs, and that's how they'll make their money. All while keeping the free and open skates as well.
What else?
Just quickly on that. Besides the insurance reduction and the rent, do we get a piece of their revenue?
We did not work that one into their deal, not yet anyway. But it's a short-term lease, so it may be if we'll see how things go.
Thanks.
Any others? All right, thank you on Parks and Rec. Let's turn our attention to the waterfront now. And the waterfront will be, forgive me, page 253 and 254. Okay.
Right. So again, you're looking at a 19% increase here. However, a large percentage of this is that DPW utilities increase. If we didn't have that in here, this is only a 5% increase, which again is mainly seasonal staff, which is our lifeguards and our parking attendants. Minimum wage increase, so we had to increase the scale, and that's where you'll see the.
So is this all rate? This is not hours whatsoever?
This is all rate, not hours, correct? We did not extend any hours or anything like that, so this is just rates.
Any questions on
Was-
this one?
It's not the DPW, there's no DPW line here, right?
No.
This is communication that's going up 30.
No. Actually, no, this is,
The utilities are...
yeah, the utilities are right here. I'm sorry, I had the number written down, and it's
Oh, those, it
60
doesn't have a percentage because there's nothing from last year. Got
Yeah,
it.
but yeah, it's 13.5, then 3,300, and then 40,000. So,
Talk to me about communications. What is going on there?
yeah, the communications line, what happened here was we moved, this is another one of those net zeros, so this was the cost of the cable modem for the internet that's down at the marina. So this is getting moved from the IT budget to the Parks and Recreation, to the waterfront budget here. Total cost was $850. So you'll see a reduction in their line of $850 and an increase in ours. Trying to get all the true costs for the facilities in the right budgets.
Any other questions on these line items on the waterfront? Let's turn to the P&L on the waterfront. Thank you for this again. Okay, step us through the increases in revenue here, please.
Yep, so you're going to see an increase in beach stickers due to the non-resident increase. So the non-resident rate went up. So that's where we're getting that increase. Plus, we're going to sell more beach stickers this year, positive of it. Beach parking is always a crapshoot. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's all weather dependent. It's weather driven. If we have good weather, we'll easily meet this number, if not exceed it. If we have a rainy summer, we're going to come in short.
But will you have savings on the other side if it's a rainy summer?
We should. Yeah, we should on staffing.
Right. Okay, go ahead. Marina dockage?
Marina dockage, that is up 5%, about $35,000 as you see, and that's because we increased the rates at the marina 5%.
Okay. Winter dockage, what's the deal there?
We budgeted for what we, for what Andy collects. Andy has been very good at managing the marina and tracking down that money, and essentially he's just doing a much better job of getting it. So that's why that's going up. And then our concessions, that went back out to bid, and that's a contract, so that's the number this year, or next year.
Questions from anybody on these items? Anybody whatsoever? All right, are we done with the waterfront? Good, seeing none, thank you.
Andy.
Thank you very much.
Sorry to make you sit here. Thank you, Scott.
Okay, let's go, thank you very much. Let's go to the golf courses. They are on pages 256 and 257. Let's start there, and we'll go on. So the golf course is down about 1.5%, mostly because there's no capital outlay in here this year.
Correct. So you're looking at Carl Dickman right now.
Correct.
It's down 1.1%. Yep, we do not have a capital project in there for this year.
And you do have, again, this is the same thing, DPW is now charging back the utilities costs?
Yep. So we picked up a couple $1,000s there, 70-something, 7,200.
Okay, do we have questions, comments, concerns on the expense side of the Carl Dickman Golf Course? I thought there were capital outlays that we deferred in prior years.
I'm going to get to that in the next budget.
In the next budget,
Yeah,
okay.
in the Smith budget, we'll talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Let's go to, trying to find it here, my apologies. Let's go to the P&L on this sheet. We have the golf courses on the same sheet here. So we're at the Carl Dickman Part 3. So, yeah, I noticed you have rounds, I don't know rounds, but you have revenue going down by
Yeah.
like 20-some-odd thousand dollars. What's going on?
So what I did here was we haven't increased the rate down there. We didn't increase the rates this year, but we've never hit 300,000 down there. So for us to say we were going to try to hit 300,000 seemed a little crazy to me. I mean, we would need to be open year round, but basically our 3-year average is around that 280 number, and I'm very comfortable coming in at that number, saying that's where we're going to hit.
What did you hit this year?
Well, this year we are 2017. We hit 253 in greens fees.
What are you projecting for this year?
We are projecting. I have that. About 270.
So we're losing money this year.
It does happen.
No,
I mean, it's amazing the amount of money you're losing is almost exactly equal to what you're paying in unemployment. Right, and this is the same thing where we have seasonal workers down here, and at the end of the season, they go and apply for unemployment.
Yes, that does happen occasionally.
What do you mean occasionally?
Well,
Happens every year.
I don't know that all of them do it, but so that's why I would say occasionally.
And then we hire them back the next year, and then they do it again?
That's the routine.
Mr. Flynn?
Yes.
Just quickly on the 270 between now and June 30th.
Yep.
Where are you now, and what do you need between now and June 30th to get there? Roughly.
Yep. We need about 97,000.
About 97,000?
Yep.
If it ever stops snowing.
If it stops snowing, exactly. We were scheduled to open up this upcoming Wednesday. I don't know that that's going to happen realistically.
Okay. Thanks.
Anthony, for these, or Mr. Calabrese, I should say, for these, this one has always bothered me, right? Because when you hire people at a golf course, it's 7-8 months. If you get 9 months, that's great.
Yep.
But you kind of know that it's not a full-time job. It's not a full-year job. Now, I understand what the laws are and all that. Okay, I get it. My question would be, can you go to an outside service and save money here? And hire through an outside service and basically say, hey, for these positions where they're clearly seasonal, have this third-party, service manage them. I don't know that that saves you money or not, but it just seems to me, it's putting you into a negative position. And I don't know whether you need all that hassle, and it might even be easier, to manage a service as opposed to managing people and all the employment that comes with it.
Yeah, and the trade-off would be the cost of unemployment versus the markup.
Exactly.
That the temp agency would.
I'm just saying explore.
though.
I'm not saying that it comes on. I just want to know what the differential would be.
And I didn't mean to object to it. I was just pointing out what
Yeah.
the trade-off is. That's all.
Totally.
We definitely explore that for sure. I mean, I don't know that I have never explored it, but I can.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and I don't know, Pete, what's your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, one of my thoughts was that, maybe, I don't know if you call them part-time or seasonals, or however you want to call it, maybe keep them on so they're not collecting unemployment, maybe keep them on for 19 hours a week through the year. And
I don't know what that price point is either.
So we'll have to look at all the options.
Yeah, that should be part of the analysis. But any skill set that's needed, I mean, we tend to have the same folks coming back, certainly, not that they're required. We'd owe if they were all new every year, we'd still potentially owe the unemployment, so it doesn't change the cost. But is there any skill set or experience factor by getting the same folks back? They know how the course runs, that type of thing.
Well, obviously, I like to bring back the same guys who are, very well versed in all aspects of the golf course. We lay them off around November, and so we don't bring them back until March. So, we have to look at it. We had talked about this going back years ago, whether you keep them on for 19 hours a week so they don't collect unemployment, but, what is the
You're
offset?
getting value out of them then.
Yes, we're
as
getting
opposed to-
value instead of just collecting.
And obviously the question is, does it have to be 19 hours? But
Exactly.
Well, that's another
I don't
thing.
mean to do the whole analysis here, but
I know.
certainly everything can be
Then
explored.
the seasonal category, you know, is going to go up too, so it's,
Yeah,
But-
we're knocking
but
enough
how much?
seasonal guys out. We got to add some more seasonal guys in, right?
yes.
All right. Any other questions, comments on this? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Let's go to Richardson. And now you're going to hit me up with the
Yes, I am.
capital outlay.
Yes, I am.
All right, so this is up 9%. You're going whole hog here. You're either down by 50 or up by double digits right now.
It is not all me.
Gee, Jerry never did this.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Again, a large percent. The big driver here is the DPW utility costs. So
Why that changed this year? What? Tell us. I'm not objecting to it or anything, but where did this come from all of a sudden?
No, it's my request to get more, much like we've done with software and computers over time. Anytime we can find a direct cost,
Yep.
to include it in the DPW, so you know the drill. They're not watching as closely as somebody will if it's hitting your bottom line. And let's take something like solar power. If you
Yeah.
realize you can drop your electric cost by a significant amount, you're going to be a lot more enthusiastic about supporting a solar power initiative in your area.
Okay. Thank you. So go ahead, tell us a bit about why this budget's going up so much other than that.
Well, other than that, the overtime line, as you'll see, is up 27%. And again, that's just looking at the last few years of what we've actually spent. We've been over the last 3 or 4 years. So this is the realistic number. So I just said, well, why do we keep saying we're going to come in under when this is what we're actually spending? So we bumped that up. Seasonal line went up, obviously, because again, minimum wage went up, so those numbers, that whole scale moves. And then the other big driver here is we've got new golf carts. We entered a new lease agreement, but again, we're going to offset that on the revenue side by we up the price for the carts. So essentially, they will pay for themselves.
And are you getting hit by any increases here from contract settlements, or no, it doesn't really, I mean, there's one.
It's not really that bad, no.
No, because just your regular payroll, yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I missed it. Your seasonal payroll, is that going up because of increase in rate or increase in?
Rate, not hours.
Okay. Questions from anybody? Mr. Kiley?
Thank you. Just quickly back to the overtime line.
Yep.
You know, if you go back 3 years, you're roughly averaging 30,000 on that line, right?
Yep.
And where are you now, and where do you think you're going to finish the year?
We're going to be pretty close to it.
Pretty close to the 30 or
To the 30.
in?
Yeah.
So you're going to be about 8K over the current budget, that 22. That was a low number, obviously. And that gets affected even more by the increase in the minimum wage as well,
Correct.
right? Okay, thanks.
Yep. The only other thing I want to point out, if I may, is the capital outlay line here, which is what we wanted to talk about before. So the last couple of years, we've come before you and we've asked for a $70,000 mower or a $60,000 mower. So Peter came to me and said, can we lease these? Can we lease this equipment and then try to get a whole fleet? So we ran the prices for leasing everything, and we didn't think after speaking with the first selectman, we didn't think that was the best idea to just go all in on it. So we're going to try to phase it in. So what we were looking to do here is we're asking for $29,000 for the next 5 years. So I know you guys can only commit to 1 year at a time, but what we're looking at is he'll get 3 new pieces of equipment that he'll pay for over the 5 years. We didn't put any capital into the Par 3, to the Carl Dickman course. I originally had a mower in there for $14,500 that had got damaged in a storm earlier this year, but if we replace the ones that we had, 3 of the mowers up at Smith, we can slide those down to the Par 3. We don't have to buy anything new for them, and we've got 3 new pieces of equipment up at Smith. So that's the thought, and then in a couple of years, I can come back and replace some additional equipment, and then eventually we'll phase out the whole thing and have all new equipment. So,
Mr. Kiley?
Thank you, sir. Just quickly, for these 3 items, what would be the rough amount to purchase them?
The rough,
Yeah.
to purchase them, I think they were 67,000 for one mower. There was another 54,000 for another mower and $34,000 for the third.
67, I didn't catch the second number,
54,
and 30,
37.
okay, so that gets you roughly back to the 150. Right, 40. Thanks.
Yeah, we're going to go to
rough.
Mr. DeWitt, I think, had his hand up, and then we'll go to Mr.
Yeah.
Brown.
So I like the lease. In 5 years, you're going to come back and say, here's the next 3 or 4 things we're going to lease on the 5-year?
That's the goal.
Unless you want to up it to 54, and then we can just add on to it.
Unless what, sorry?
Want to add on to the 29,000.
Oh, I got you, okay.
But I don't see that happening.
But it's a
so
it's a
it's
5-year
lease.
rotation is the.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Go to Mr. Brown.
So at the end of 5 years, what happens?
We can either trade them in or we own them.
Okay, so we own them after 5 years.
We own them after 5 years, but they will take a trade-in and put it towards the new lease.
So during, right. So during the lease, who's responsible for the maintenance?
Regular maintenance, like sharpening the reels and that, we'll be responsible, but anything major that goes wrong, the company, this one will be Toro, will be responsible for any major engine, transmission, or any failure, they'll be responsible for it.
Sounds like a pretty good plan then, huh?
That's why we
That's what we're doing.
came forward with this.
Yeah, okay.
What's your, what's going on with rental and storage? I missed that before.
That's the golf carts.
That is the golf carts, okay. So they're not actually paying for themselves. That's what I thought. Because when I look, you're only raising your golf cart rentals by $10,000, but your fee here is going up by $22,000.
So they should pay for themselves, provided we get the number of rentals we need each season. If we have a wet season, like we had this past season, then we end up coming up a little short.
So are you sandbagging us here? Is that what you're
No,
doing?
no, I don't. No, not on purpose. No, honestly, we should.
Seems like you're sandbagging
No,
us
we
here.
should hit that number.
Kind of an umbrella number since it's brain-based.
Ba-dum-bum. Well, you're saying we should cover it, which means we should get $12,000 more in
so the
revenue.
way I'm looking at it was I was basing it off of this past summer, this past season.
Right.
Right now, I'm estimating that we're going to come up short this year. Right, we budgeted 350. I'm talking current budget, not projected budget.
Yeah, I get it.
So I was looking at that number and then tacking on the additional fee to that, which gets me to my 360. So they will pay for themselves.
Just not on this schedule. All right. What else? What other questions we have here? Any rate increases in here?
Yes.
Seasonal passes?
No, seasonal passes stayed the same.
You're just going to have more.
We're just going to have more of them this year. I think we increased that rate last year, and we did sell 500 fewer than we did in the previous
remember you
years.
yeah.
But I'm anticipating that will go back up this year. I think we just, I think they were a little sticker shock there. But the greens fees rates did go up $1. So we will see, again, a slight increase there. I held it steady just because, again, 1.1 million that's a lot of rounds that need to be played.
Yep. Go ahead, Mr. DeWitt.
If the clubhouse goes according to whatever the latest plan is, will there be any effect on the concession or anything like that in this fiscal year that we're talking about, I mean?
There is potential for that, yeah. There's definitely potential for that. So right now we get a rent of about $37,000. It all depends on the timeline of when that project were to start. We're trying not to, I'm sure the building committee is going to try not to straddle or interfere 2 seasons. so they try to only interfere with one season. Right now, our lease is year to year with the current vendor. So, if they do go the course, they're going to have to look into, whether we do food trucks or, a portable station. But there will be something, but I'm sure it won't be the full 37,000 while we're down.
So when you say concession because we took a tour, which thank you very much, there's the separate, you can go get a hot dog at the window, then there's the restaurant. That's not both in the 37,000, right?
That is.
It is, okay. So there's going to be some impact to losing the restaurant, obviously, right? But you could augment the hot dog sales, for lack of a better term, with trucks.
Well, the restaurant's private, though, right?
It is private, but the amount of rent that he pays.
Make rent.
Right, the rent, right. Got it. Okay,
So we could have a revenue impact depending on, so this is assuming that nothing happens in fiscal year 19 with the clubhouse.
Yeah, but he sandbagged the cart rentals, so
Well,
he's good.
he did, and he didn't take down any maintenance, even though he's got new carts and he's got new, Toro equipment coming in.
He's got his cushion
But
in here.
I'm okay with that.
Go ahead, Ms.
I just want to go back to the equipment rental for a second. What's the useful life of those pieces of equipment? You've got a 5-year lease and then could own it, but...
Depends on how well Peter's guys maintain them.
A year.
Now,
Typically, it's 7 to 10 years.
Okay. And Anthony, I'm really disappointed that you can't control the weather.
Sorry.
Next question.
Good.
Anything? Anybody? Everyone, thank you for being here tonight. I know it was a bit of a late night. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
And we look forward to the follow-ups and seeing all that. Mr. Grace, we'll see you soon. Hopefully with not 8 inches of snow on the ground. Do I have a motion? We'll take Mrs. Marmion. Do I have a second? We'll take Mr. DeWitt. All in favor of adjournment? Opposed? We're done. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.